Hello, 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 and greetings, adventurers of Vera. Welcome to Tavern Talk at the Golden Feather Tavern. We are Chibi and Vertec, keepers of this fine establishment. And the Golden Feather Tavern is open to all travelers to come and share their thoughts on the inner workings of Vera over a nice tankard of ale, mead, hot chocolate, or other delicious beverage of choice. So, raise your glass, pull up a chair, as we delve into tonight's discussions. Today is the 23rd of July, 2024. We are in episode 026. And Chibi, how are you doing and what do we have on tap today?
Ooh, I'm doing pretty well. It's been a bit of a week already, but I know it's only Tuesday, but it's been a long week.
Yeah, I know it's only Tuesday, but it's been a long week, exactly.
But yeah, today we're going to be talking about playstyles within Ashes of Creation and within ourselves, and I felt like this would be a nice, interesting topic to bring up, something that I'm not really seeing other people talking about. I know there's a whole lot of conversations about Bard happening and Alpha 2 dates, and that's all well, but I would like to pick out a kind of more evergreen topic, I think. So yeah, and then of course we are joined today by both Gladys and Lloyd, and I'm really excited to chit chat about not only our types of playstyles but what Ashes can cater to. So yeah,
excited to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you so
excited.
much, sure. I was gonna say, Lloyd, you have a freaking little vision board going on out there. Holy crap, that's awesome. I think mine is the same.
Chat can't see it, but yeah,
I know.
I have a bunch of shit on it.
Yeah, dude, I
Yeah.
gotta do that. I ordered it. It should be coming in maybe this weekend. I don't know if it's like next day shipping or if it's gonna be on Sunday, but I'm really excited.
Honestly,
That's awesome.
whiteboards are really helpful, and one thing I'm delving into for content creation, just to kind of jump into like a side topic real quick, is like something like Asana or project management for keeping track of everything, and having a space to put up like different topic ideas that I might want to pull from. It'll make it easier to pull up like future tavern talk ideas and stuff, and like give you guys ideas ahead of time.
Yeah, I have one at work, and it's been helping me immensely at work. And I was like, I just need one of these for my personal life, so I got one and just started writing any idea I have down, like anything that just pops up. So I write it down so I don't forget it, and it'll be there until I take it down.
Yeah.
Love it.
On that note, also, if you like this kind of content, please consider giving us a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, make sure to hit the notification bell if you'd like to see us when we go live or when we post. And in the description, once you see this on YouTube later, I'll have both Gladys and Lloyd's channels linked. And make sure to go give them a follow because they're really awesome content creators, and they've been consistently hanging out with us in the tavern, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah. Both of them are great, except that Lloyd guy and that Vladis guy also. Except for those two guys are great. Yeah. They're rascals.
Oh my gosh.
They're rascals, I tell you.
That being said, if you want to join in with us and you have been a part of our previous podcast and or hang out with us in the Discord a while, we invite you to join us in the live stream queue where we can pull you down into the live stream with us. Otherwise, please share your thoughts in the comments or the description below for those of you watching after the fact. But let's get into it. What are your play styles? Like, what is your personal play style when it comes to playing a video game?
I'm a clicker.
You're a clicker.
A skill clicker. Are you seriously? Or are you saying that for the memes?
So my left hand is all button key rotation, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, E, a tilde key, tab, space bar, control. My right hand, I click any, like in World of Warcraft, I always clicked all of my major cooldowns. So I'm a hybrid, so to speak. I click everything. If I need anything clicked, it's on my right hand. Anything rotationally dependent is always on my left.
I thought you were talking about like playstyles as a type of like I do DPS. I know you guys do like tank healer, and I think Vladis is a tank as well. But Yeah, no,
ever-
That's the glorious part about talking about playstyles is we were going to cover a
Yes.
little bit of everything, all the above, and then more. Like everything
Yeah, but
involved
I
with your
guess-
style of play.
exactly. Yeah, I guess to jump off of what Vladis is, I change my keybinds in every single game. I do not stick to default keybinds whatsoever, and I try to make sure that all of my abilities are something I can press while I'm also pressing WASD, so that I can always have my keys in a movement position, or my fingers on the movement position, and I don't have to take my fingers off. So if I'm doing shift, control alterations, or can hotkey things to my mouse, I will. However, I don't use a MMO mouse because I am super inaccurate whenever I try to use one of those things, and I will use the wrong ability 100% of the time. So I just try to keep things as much on the keyboard as possible within my left hand reach, with keeping my fingers on the movement key.
So we'll get you a a custom Naga made with like the speak and spell style buttons.
You know, I was
Like,
actually
an
thinking
entire thumb goes over it to push the thing down.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking like one, instead of like using them for like abilities, having the like hotkeying the numbers on the side of the mouse to be the movement, like it's like a joystick almost. I was like, that might be good.
Yeah, have you seen?
I don't know.
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and say my little playstyle. I'm a tank. I click everything I possibly can on my Naga, with my thumb, and then I use Control, Shift, and or Alt to adjust those. So I have like 36 to 48 different skills on my thumb. The only things I click normally are going to be mounts. I usually put mounts in a sidebar, and I'll rotate through those and select which one I want by clicking. Nothing else clicks.
I am definitely more of a mouse over player. I definitely preferred changing a lot of my things over to mouse over. I'm a healer primary, so being able to mouse over somebody and use. I am also a Naga mouse person, so being able to know like which one is where. I kind of base it based off of like the position of my thumb and what's most comfortable for me. So I will sit here and I will click different things and be like, okay, what am I likely going to reach? What am I going to have to move my finger to reach? And so typically my stuff is in a T. So 1, 2, 3, 5, and 8, with 11 being like the once in a while, and then the ones on the side are like super once in a while. So like that's how I have my stuff set up. And I like to be able to hover over things because it allows me to adapt to a situation much faster, and I'm able to keep up with like what I want to do mentally. But yeah. You wanted to elaborate? Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to expand on that, just to add a little bit more to the playstyle conversation, just so everyone knows what we're talking about here. I'm also more of a hardcore style player. I tend to only be casual on games that are kind of designed to be casual. MMOs I tend to go full tilt on, and I tend to be more PvE centric. I like organized PvP and things with purpose. Not really a big open world PvP person. It just doesn't thrill me. Running around going, hey man, we'll fight. Hey man, we'll fight. Just doesn't do it for me. Yeah.
How are you following a game like Ash's Vertec?
Man.
It's all open world PvP.
Because I mean, I've already decided my PvP strategy in the open world is going to be X.
Right.
The X key.
1v1 bro.
Someone's gonna try and fight me, and I'm just gonna sit down on the ground. That's it. Obviously I'm not going to be fighting back. So if you're gonna kill me, just kill me. Get it over with. Get your corruption, and I'll come back with my other character that's gonna be a bounty hunter. That's my open world PvP
strategy. I like it.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're talking BH system.
Sorry,
Oh,
I was gonna say. Go ahead, Lloyd.
Go ahead.
Go.
I just said abuse that BH system, the bounty hunter.
Mhm.
Words are hard. Bounty hunter system.
Yeah.
So we're talking earlier, Vertec, because I streamed earlier about like what an MMO is, and the thing is that like most MMOs back then were so open that you can get lost in certain systems. Like, do you think Ashes could be in the same vein, right? Like, because you think most MMOs, like World of Warcraft, you can consider World of Warcraft a hardcore MMORPG towards certain players, but it really depends on the kind of style that you're going into, right? So for you as a PvE player, you could look at Warcraft as a hardcore MMO because you're looking at high-end mythic raids, plus 20s, mythic rating. But you can also look at World of Warcraft as a super casual game as far as like transmog runs, fishing, mount collecting, so do you think Ashes could be as versatile, like in that vein too? Like it doesn't have to just be a hardcore game?
With the current setup, absolutely not.
Really? You think it can't?
I think the only thing you could do super casually is if you literally just want to sit there in town and buy stuff on the auction house and turn it into something else and put it back on the auction house and just be a crafter. That's the only thing you could do casually in this game. But you have to make that money first, right?
Wait,
so that was actually... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Rui.
That was the whole purpose of me wanting to talk about this tonight is like there are many facets to gameplay style. There's, the type of environments you want to involve yourself in, the type of play style you have within the skill system, and then you have, how you want to play. And I really like it because I feel like Ashes is going to have a plethora of avenues that you can play within. If you're a casual gamer, there's going to be a lot there for you. There's going to be a lot more that you can't do, but there's going to be a lot there for you. And then there's, the more harder core people that are going to be going out and trying to do content. And then your hardest core people that are going to be going out and trying to do the hardest and most, I want to say elite content, but like the tiny single digit percentage of content that people are going to actually get to do. I can see the hardest core people doing, no lifers. Thank you. But those are my thoughts.
I mean, but do you think a person that, just wants to be a gatherer, like they can't treat Ashes in the sense of being a casual, just going out and chopping wood or mining some nodes? Like,
I would say there would be a hardcore gatherer, a casual adventurer, if they wanted to know life gathering.
I think they can exist. Again, I really don't think that the PvP is going to be as bad as Vertec thinks it is.
So
like, I think it's going.
So here's the thing, though. Just to bounce off of that idea real quick.
Right.
Yeah, casual anything can exist. You can be a casual PvP person. You can be a casual PvE, casual crafter, casual. You can exist. Are you going to enjoy your time, thrive, and stay around for it long? That's the question. So therefore, I think that you can't legitimately have a successful casual player in Ashes outside of sitting in town and crafting.
Because a casual doesn't like PvP.
No,
not
just
necessarily.
because
No, you could be a casual PvP, or you could be a casual gatherer, you could be a casual crafter, whatever. I think as long as there's content out in the world that a solo player can go out and do these things, because Ashes is a group, like a group-based game. But if you want to do anything solo casually, you can. It's just going to be harder, or you won't be able to do certain content. Like,
correct.
You can still join like PvP caravans. You can still join like your node siege. You can still do all these different PvP things. You can still be a casual open world PvPer, which, in my opinion, could be like a casual griefer. I don't know. Like, you could do stuff like that. Like, because the open world PvP in my mind is, unless you're doing it over PvX environments, it's pretty much the corruption system is an anti-grief system. So I mean, you could just do all these things casually, but
the other thing, Mr. Dross says, gotta redefine casual in their ambition or time commitment, very different things.
Well, the reason I say both actually is what I'm speaking towards: ambition and time commitment. I mean, unless if you're saying that the time commitment is 40 hours a week and you're calling that casual, that's not casual anymore. Um,
In
that's
that
really not
aspect,
casual
yeah.
anymore. Yeah, unless you're literally like walking around, laying on the ground, zooming in, and observing every blade of grass just to soak in the environment. And like, but if you're putting in 40 hours a week, that's not what I would call casual anymore. You are hardcore playing slowly is what you're doing if you're being casual. But like I'm trying to frame it in a realistic frame here. So calling it casual and saying is there room for casual gameplay as just a gatherer? I mean, if you really talk about the contentment of doing that, sure. If they want to farm radishes from levels 1 to holy mackerel, wood chip, hello,
Oh my
welcome back
God.
in. It's been so
Balls.
long, friend.
Thank you. I was gonna say hi because
15?
Woodchip
My
said
God.
just stopping by to say hello. It's been a while. See you on Alpha 2. And I heard Vladis, I heard you. And then of course we're getting rated with nice. Hello, people of nice.
Wow.
Hello,
And no
welcome in,
one-
Raiders.
Hello.
Welcome on
The
in.
voices
Welcome
of
in.
Aaron.
The voices of Era. They have joined us in the tavern.
Yes.
But thank you so much. And huzzah
Woodchip.
to you,
Woodchip, that's a
Woodchip.
hell of a way
Wow.
to kick down the door on the way in. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. I'm glad we
Seriously.
put those
Yeah.
springs on it.
Just stopping by. Here's 15 subs. Congrats.
Oh my gosh, the voices! I hear Ashes people.
No, Woodchip's one of our oldest pals. We don't see him too terribly often anymore these days. He swings by the community
will-
and says hi once in a while, and
We will in Alpha 2 goes live. We'll see a lot of
Fingers
episodes.
crossed.
Go.
fingers crossed. We miss
That's
Woodchip.
Well, I guess like I was talking about this earlier, like in my stream with the whole casual thing, but I really do think casuals can exist in Ashes, but it really comes down to your state of mind. Like again, you can think of time or you think of objective, but I think if your objective is to be lost in an MMORPG and have fun doing like certain activities that don't require too much like time investment, because going and doing a dungeon is like a time investment, right? So you think
Mhm.
casual to me is more catering to a solo adventure, right? Like that's what you have time to do, stuff that you yourself can do. Like the node is going to have like a commissions board that you're going to have, so you can go out and do some small commission stuff around your area, and simultaneously you can go and gather or craft or meet people or just go and explore, right? Like, and again, some people always think of casual in the sense of like, oh, I only have 2 hours to play, but I've seen a lot of hardcore players play in 2 hours and get a lot of crap done. But I just think it comes down to what state of mind you're in. Like if you feel like you truly want to get lost in a game, meet people, and don't care about the grind or like the race to level first or whatever, like I do think that really can exist in Ashes. I think it is going back to that old vein of MMORPGs where back then it didn't matter, like who cares if you hit max level. Like it was all about the adventure, it was all about self-exploration, it was all about like seeing what new abilities you got at level 19, or like going into the next biome or the next world. Like
I have
think
one
that's-
argument on that though.
Okay,
Like-
tell me your argument.
It was like that, quote unquote, back then because most of us who are remembering back then were new to MMOs.
Also true.
That's what's called the new player experience. You don't care if you get to max level because it's the first time you're experiencing this large world with all these people and you're doing things and what's this ability do, and now I have something new to learn and something new to fit in there, and now I have to redo my entire rotation. I got to change my gear too. This is crazy. I love this. And now that's level 23, man. Whatever, move on. Go to level 24 now.
But or go ahead,
sorry.
Chibri. Go ahead.
Pain Realm says I'd say 2 to 3 hours a day is casual, and that would put you at 14 to 21 hours a day. And according to a research done, typically the 2 largest groups that people spent time in an MMORPG was 25% being 11 to 20 hours a week, and 34% at 21 to 40 hours a week. So I would say the typical person probably only has 2 to 3 hours in a week to spend in an MMORPG, especially when you add in things like, as you're older, you know, being an adult with children and responsibilities and things like that. Whereas me in college, I had work, I had school, and as soon as I had work and school out of the way, I had fun time because my bills were paid, and that was my entertainment because I was too poor to go out to like bars and stuff. So that was my form of entertainment. But I think it speaks to what both of you are saying in a sense. Like, just because you're spending that 2 to 3 hours, you could be spending that 2 to 3 hours, but being super efficient at what you're doing. And I mean, does that kill your fun time? I feel like that's up to subjection. Because, for example, I'm the type of person, I want to get from A to B as quickly as possible so that I can come back to A and then look around. Vertec wants to look around A on his way to B. And for me, I got from A to B in like 10-15 minutes, and then now I have the free time to go back. For him, he's gone from A to B in an hour, but he's checked out everything in the area.
Yeah, I don't think time commitment is a good metric of like how hardcore your playstyle is, simply because like even like relating this back to my league experience where I would only play 2 games of ranked a day. But that doesn't mean I'm only spending that 2 games of ranked as like thinking about the game. I would spend majority of my time thinking about the game, learning abilities, like certain interactions, certain metas, watching videos and stuff like that. I'd consider myself a very hardcore gamer, but if I wanted to climb in the rank ladder, I could only play 2 games a day because that's all my mental acuity could really withstand, my stamina, so that I could play at my highest level.
Right.
So like, I think time of the effort that you put in game isn't necessarily relative to your playstyle.
Well, you heard it here first. Lloyd needs to work on his stamina. Sorry, what were you saying, Gladys?
Well, I know one of my friends who plays WoW very casually, and she plays 6 to 8 hours a day. I mean, she doesn't have a job, but she plays a long time, but she doesn't really do anything of a hardcore nature. She plays casual in a hardcore nature, right? Because she does transmog runs, she'll get mounts and stuff like that. But someone said it earlier in the chat, it's all about how you approach it. I think it was Ludaloo.
It was.
And it's truly about state of mind. And I think the MMO genre has been dead for a long time. And there hasn't really been a game to really bring back a resurgence. Every MMO that comes out, there is like a little bit of the thing and then it just crashes right back down. But there hasn't been that game that actually can stand that test of the month and then actually have legs and people are still talking about it a month after, right? In the sense of positivity, not, oh yeah, let's talk about New World 6 months later and laugh like at where they are, or Lost Ark or whatever, right? Like, and I think if Ashes of Creation can come out and truly stand that test, I think it can actually provide a new crop of like zillennials or the Generation Z people to come in and try MMORPGs, because they look at World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft to many people is like Facebook. They don't, Gen Zs don't use Facebook, they use Twitter, right? That's the thing. And Ashes can be their Twitter.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think Ashes is a game where casuals can thrive. I think it's a place where some of them can exist. Some of them can exist. I don't think it's going to be a thriving casual community in any way, shape, or form, mainly because casual on time it's going to be what, 250 hours to level to max level? Do you think like anyone, even casual, is going to feel? Because every casual that I've ever known that's been, no matter how casual they are, they want to have a sense of accomplishment, like they did something in their 2 hours. They don't want to log in and be like, cool, I gathered 12 sticks and 13 turnips and I got 4 rocks too. Awesome. That's what I did. But I didn't gain more than 5% experience doing any of that because it's going to take 9 years to get up there at this pace. But
so the amount of feedback that I've gotten from people that have tried classic World of Warcraft for the first time back in 2019, people that, you know, played only retail WoW and then went to play classic, had such a better experience. They didn't try to rush or try to do anything. And I really feel, it's not saying that classic World of Warcraft is like the perfect MMO. There's a lot of flaws in even the base vanilla version, but I think it still does a better intro experience than a lot of the current MMOs do.
Yeah.
We have devolved in the sense of a starting experience and an adventure. Everything just feels like a tutorial. I know Lloyd is in my stream. We talked about Lost Ark. We talked about Throne and Liberty. We talked about many MMOs where literally all the levels up until max feels like a tutorial. And an MMO should not feel that way.
Right.
It should feel like, yes, you're learning, of course, but it should feel like more of an adventure and more of like the self-discovery and just like the awe, you know what I mean? Of like, oh my God, I'm doing all this stuff. And again, I feel with new players, there's still a whole bunch of players that exist in survival genre, in the horror genre, in the FPS genre, even in the RP genre, like playing like Grand Theft Auto, that still to this day have not played an MMORPG. And I truly think Ashes of Creation can be that game. And I know you feel like it doesn't have that, but I think that's why I'm here. Like, I want to advocate for more things that can be done at a casual level. Now, I'm not trying to change Ashes to be this casual friendly game, but I think there are already systems in place that actually can lend themselves to a casual audience. And I think that's even without the PvP aspect.
You're seeing where I was coming from with the PvE then. Because that's exactly what my frame of mind with the PvE stuff.
I also don't think that the new player base, like the generations that are younger than us, are casual. I think they are hardcore gamer. I like all the games that they play are like Valorant. They play League. They play like Escape from Tarkov. They don't, it's like a bunch of the older people have turned into casual players, but younger players like the more reactive based gameplay, the more hardcore gameplay, the more ranked based gameplay. So I think if Ashes is meant to grow in the future, I think the design principles should be less I know it's it's designed to be like an older MMO, but when we were younger, we liked that style because it was more hardcore. It was more of us going in that direction. I think if you're looking from a design perspective, the younger generation would like a more reactive based gameplay and a more hardcore gameplay. I don't know if they'll like the long leveling perspective because, you know, attention spans and whatnot. But I mean, there's different perspectives on if it will or will not affect the younger generation.
To Irish Vikings point, the younger players will really feel like the weight of Ashes, since like typically in those games you're not really losing anything. You die, you get put back to the starting area. You don't really lose anything. You don't lose gear. You don't lose much except for like time maybe. But also that's why I think I don't know, it might be a different draw, a different type of game that they might find themselves enjoying. Because though they aren't necessarily, casual in that sense, they might want to be like, okay, well, what can that feel like with this type of game? You know, they might try it. And people are talking about, Shroud. Obviously, there's Shroud, there's Asmongold. All of these large streamers that are going to be playing WoW will have a wide breadth of audience that it will reach for Ashes. I mean, I know Asmongold is known for WoW. I don't know much about Shroud. Unfortunately, I just know he's a large streamer. I don't know what games he's played the most of.
FPS player, but he plays a lot of like New World and would grind the shit out of that.
New World, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think, granted, they're bigger streamers. They're gonna reach a larger audience than say some of us will, but I think some of us will reach like-minded audiences. So if I'm the type that I'm like, you know what, today is a casual day for me. I just want to sit here and I want to craft. I'm probably going to reach those type of people because that's what I want to do. And that's why I say I think there's going to be room for casual in the game, but that's not to say that, you're not going to need to, like, for example, you can progress the artisan class without progressing the adventuring class, but you're probably going to need to adventure or progress your adventuring class in order to get to some of the things that the artisan class needs. For example, the whole thing of when you master gathering and you defeat a boss, you need to have gotten to a certain level to defeat said boss. But as a master gatherer, you could then potentially harvest something from that boss. if it was like a tree, and maybe it's like an herb that you can harvest from it. I don't know. But that requires them to be worked in tandem, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like you can definitely progress one without the other, but it's going to be more beneficial to progress it in tandem, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All mounts, I think is what you were trying to say, Irish. Imagine losing your mount to players who kill them on purpose. That is what happens in Immortal Online 2, and targeting mounts led to crippling movement of players. Yeah. Thank you, Callum. Thank you for engaging with us. I appreciate it. I appreciate what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because, they're saying big streamers like Shad could definitely be great for pulling Ashes, building a more genuinely casual audience, potentially. And I just, my take at the end of the day on that specific subject is that there is room for the casual. It's just going to be, how much room is there for the casual? But there's going to be room for the casual.
Yeah,
I think
I think the top level of gameplay will be group-based content, and that's something that everybody has basically been missing out on, because all these games have been moving towards the solo type gameplay. Even Lost Ark's just released like solo raids and whatnot, so that newer players can grind and whatnot. So just because they're getting gate kept. But like, yeah, I think there will be playstyles available for everybody in their casual, hardcore, semi-hardcore roleplay. I think there will be all these options in Ashes of Creation. I don't think it's should be a worry or a concern. There may be concerns in certain systems, but I think everybody will be able to have a spot in Ashes, whether they, whatever playstyle they have. I'm not concerned at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I do agree with Vertec though. I think there may not be a large segment, but to say that it has no kind of staying power, like, I don't know, like I can't. I think the casual scene might look very differently, but I still think one will exist. And I think one can actually thrive. Again, there's a lot of servers that I think can inevitably end up being PvE servers, because every guild there has like an agreement that, hey, we don't really want to like battle each other or whatever. We want to build everything up, and then we're all going to come into an agreement of where we tear it all down how we want, so we can experience the server how we want. It may be a once in a blue moon, I'm not saying that the server is going to happen, but there could be drama that can be associated with it as well. All I am saying is, it's all in the player's hands. It's all in your mindset at the end of the day. And so I think if you want to have a casual attitude in a game like Ashes, I think you can be very satisfied in a game like Ashes and feel like you are accomplishing things in a way that feels to you as meaningful. Because again, whether I think it's meaningful or not is irrelevant. It's you, the player. If you feel like even a fourth of your bar is worked and it's meaningful to you, I can't take that away from you.
Right.
And I think as long as you have that mentality or that mindset, it doesn't matter what I or anyone else thinks. Like, at the end of the day, MMORPGs are designed, they're supposed to be designed for you to have fun. That's what games, that's the main intention of a game, is to have fun. It's not supposed to feel like work.
Stimulate the mind and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's felt very counter to that recently. So
yeah, and I think that there's this push of like, are you a hardcore, are you a casual, like what like are you, and then defining a box. And I mean, Kellum says exactly the thing that I told Vertec earlier. Kellum says, I think Steven is trying to make it an all-encompassing space where players can find their own interests or passions from within the game on their own in a natural way. And that's exactly how I feel about Ashes. Like, I don't think asking somebody, are you going to be a hardcore gamer? Are you going to be a casual gamer? What does that mean? If I want to be a hardcore alchemist and herbalist, but I want to be your standard raider and dungeoner, but I want to be your casual PvPer, where does that put me? There's no label for that anymore. Like, unless you segment it the way that I just did.
Well, I mean, it's tough though. You got to also look at what year and what quote and what context you're pulling that information from when it comes to like Stephen quotes as well. On if it's going to actually be an all-encompassing area, because some interviews he'll say like, yeah, of course there's going to be some solo content, but other times it's no, to really play the game you need to be in a group. You can't just play the game solo. There's going to be some solo content, but you can't just play the game from like everything in the game like solo. You just can't do it.
I don't think
there's going to be some
crafter,
solo content.
or sorry, I don't think casual always equals solo though. I think it can.
Well,
I think it often will, but it doesn't
we were talking
always.
about all encompassing was the statement there. All encompassing.
Well,
that means any
kinda,
play style could be welcome and would be able to succeed, and solo play style is not going to work.
It's kind of like me playing
things.
WoW right now. Like if I go and I play, like I haven't experienced the dungeons. I'm relatively new. I play WoW casually, but I still need to get into a group and do a dungeon. Like, yeah, you can't just be a solo player in Ashes of Creation, but you know, to do like all the content, but you can still do solo content like for the majority of your playstyle.
That might look like being a level 15 and fighting level 8 mobs, because that's what you can handle solo.
Yeah.
Well, I think when it comes to the feeling of success, that in itself is something from your own state of mind. Like, if you're talking overall success in like, I'm going to go and gear myself, do everything by myself, maybe not. But again, if you belong to a good organization or a guild or a community, a Discord, whatever, whatever it is, in Ashes of Creation, I think there's a lot of ways a casual can actually go about feeling very accomplished and feeling very successful about the time they're putting into the game. And again, I think the whole like, oh, I'm doing like little activities for my guild, or I'm doing little activities from the commission board for my node. Like I feel like there's a lot of like little things that you truly don't need major groups for to still feel like you've accomplished something. Again, I don't want to make it all
people
like,
out in the world doing commissions, and you will group up and party with them. So like the game pushes you to do group content, whether you are a solo player or not.
Right.
Yeah, but also you can put up commissions for other people to fulfill for you. Like, I may not be high enough to go do that content, but I could put up a commission for the higher level material that I can't figure out how to do yet. Or maybe I could do it, but I don't have the group to go do it with, And Galwood says, and tagged us, says, Ashes is an all-encompassing game where there's a place for everyone versus this game is not for everyone, and that's okay. These two statements are somewhat contradictory, but there is some truth in both of them. And I teasingly said, well, one was said by the creator and the other one was said by us. But I do think that there is room for everyone, but it may not be, the game itself may not be meant for everyone. And I think that there is room if you are okay with knowing that you will not be able to do all of the content. And I think that is exactly what Steven was trying to say. I mean, if you look at raid bosses, only single-digit percentage of people will be able to do all of the hardcore content. And that's a call back to somebody else. I apologize. It may have been Pain Realms. I might be misspeaking. Hi, Allure, by the way. Somebody said that they wanted it to feel like Elden Ring. I don't think the majority of the player base should have an experience that feels like Elden Ring. But having a couple of really legendary bosses that feel like Elden Ring, I think that is valid. There should be some content that feels like that, but not all of it. Just like there should be some content that's pretty easy to be pushed over so that everybody can get through that storyline and be able to progress the storyline. But I don't think it should be all of it, I think Ashes is this really interesting mixing pot of different game loops and content, and it really feels like you make of it what you want type of game. In a sense, like to a degree.
But I mean, isn't that what MMOs were always supposed to be. Like the MMO is what you decide to make it. It's like every box that I would always see from like the early 2000s was like, make your own adventure, you know, set forth, traveler. Like
Yeah.
it was always supposed to feel like this fun thing that wasn't dictated by spreadsheets and numbers. I think we ourselves have done that to ourselves, but that's all in the mentality that you put forth, you know, from yourself. Like if again, I'm not saying that if you want to be very numerical and you want to be that hardcore person to do the most damage or be the best geared person, whatever, cool. Like if that's your fun, go right ahead. But I don't let anyone dictate what is supposed to be fun for you. Like think for yourself in the sense of what you deem is fun, because golly, dude, I am so sick and tired of like these huge content creators that are trying to tell you how this game is supposed to be fun or how this game is not supposed to be fun. Like if there's a certain aspect to you that's fun and other people are like, oh, like pet battles is stupid. It's like, dude, if you like pet battles, who gives a fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like go do pet battles. Go do pet battles. Like, but don't try to be this like drone, you know what I mean, about it. Think for yourself, have the know-how to know like, hey, I know where my fun is, I know what I enjoy doing, and just do it. Like who cares? So like I just feel like there's such a pressure on that for some reason.
So yeah, I have to agree on that. Like you don't let someone else tell you what fun should be, because fun is different for. Go ahead.
Did you just apologize for cursing in a tavern?
I know. I get so passionate about this stupid subject, man.
No, Tuesdays is Tuesdays, man. It's only Friday. Fridays we try to be more family friendly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Soon to be Saturdays, maybe, if we get everything moved over.
Bertek, what you were saying, I'm sorry.
Let me try to remember what I was saying.
I was gonna help you, but then I forgot now.
So yeah, don't let anybody else tell you what fun should be and what you should be doing to have fun, because fun is different for everybody, even to the smallest degree of difference between you and the person next to you. There's something that's going to be different, right? But that being said, anybody who makes fun of or looks at people who do spreadsheet work as we did this to ourselves, or it's a terrible thing because people are min-maxing or whatever. Do you know who the min-maxers were back in the day? In the time that we're fantasizing about living in with swords and like battling in fields for castles? Those were the guys that sat outside and practiced with their sword all day, and they sharpened that sword all day. This is the nerd's version of sharpening your sword, man. It's a nerd's version of sharpening your sword. You're putting in the work.
Good point.
Trying to hone your craft.
I want to point out something that Fupo said.
Yeah.
He was not sure why casual is equated with solo play. And I think majority of that reason is mostly because it takes the least effort to play by yourself.
I have Oh, sorry. I thought you were done there after that one-liner like response. Never mind. I'll wait till you're done. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah. Playing with yourself is definitely what I thought you were going to comment on. But I think it takes the least amount of effort to just do that type of content, and especially in a game like Ashes of Creation, where there is no dungeon finder, there is no like group finder. That is going to be the primarily of what a casual player base is, because they're not going to want to put in the time and effort to go find a group and go do certain content.
Yeah,
so there's exactly one casual guild that I know of that's been successful as a guild. Can any of you think of a successful casual guild? And by successful, I mean been around a long time, lots of members, they do stuff together all the time, they do maybe some raiding or dungeon running. Okay. How many guilds?
Mine was I don't know how many, because I didn't go around asking all the guilds in World of Warcraft about their like playstyle, but the ones that I were a part of, they were around for a while. They were very much that, hey, just let me know if you need help, we're on. A lot of them had already pushed through a lot of the newer content, and we're just happy to help the newer people and just casually play around, and achievement hunting was like a thing that they would offer, and like just literally the whole personality of that guild was not to push people to do end game content all the time, but to enjoy different things. Like, is there an achievement in this area that you're struggling to get? Well, let's go over there and go do that, because you know what, I need that achievement too, so let's go enjoy that.
But yeah, part of the reason I was asking, because I was mainly asking that question for like a quick like one-liner yay nay answer type of thing, because the point I was trying to get to before we go off in different directions was going to end up being that casual is associated with solo play, because typically casual guilds only have a couple people online because they're casual. They kind of log in whenever, they log out whenever, all different odd times of night, sometimes only an hour or two, sometimes 3 hours, and it's rare to find a casual guild that exists that actually has enough active people on to do group content larger than a single party. That's why casual is usually associated with solo play.
I think any guild that is advertising in local chat is a casual guild, because they are just trying to get players to just join their guild.
Yeah.
And there's a shit ton of those guilds that just are posting in local chats and being like, hey, join our guild. We're going to go do whatever content doing these things. Like, I think there are a lot of those guilds. There's just not a lot of those successful guilds.
Well,
yeah.
No,
but success is determined by different things.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
true.
I've been in some like bleeding edge of the raiding scene where our guild was actually standing on the corner in, you know, Dalaran saying, hey, looking to recruit, we need one priest, one warrior, must be able to do this and that all day, every day. It was literally on a copy and paste. It was set as a macro for all the officers, and that was all day, every day. That was being posted out, and absolutely not a casual guild. I don't think one person in that guild spent less than 25 hours a week online.
Well, I again would implore that casual should not include time frame being spent online.
25 hours a day, if 25 hours a week, rating, pushing content, like progressing, pushing, not just existing.
Well, because there's different areas of the game that you get to. Like World of Warcraft, the primary example that we keep talking about, is there's end content where you're waiting for the next patch to drop. You're waiting for the next whatever content to drop. And there's a certain period in time where all you're doing is raid logging. But you're still hardcore. You're still doing the hardest stuff. You just ended up getting to that point where like it's easy enough that you guys as a group cleared it enough times that you figured it out, and now you're able to get it done in an hour or two and see you next Wednesday for the raid. You know, like it depends on where you are in that game life. I don't know what you call that.
A lot of the communities for the casual stuff, I mean, you are right in a sense when it comes to people being very in and out. But I think Discord has helped those casual communities immensely in keeping track of their people, like outside of the game. And whether it's like through hanging out in the Discord, whether it's through the chat function, whether it's through memes or just funny stories or whatever, there's a lot of casual communities that are, you know, very tight knit, that again, like in your level of success is completing the highest you know, raid or whatever. But to the success that I've heard from even people that play Final Fantasy 14, there's some super casual guilds where if they can just beat the extreme, they're good with that. Like they don't need to do the savage or anything like higher, you know, than that. So
Vertec is bored by our casualness.
No, I'm just.
Oh lordy.
No. I'm elaborating on Ludoloo says. In other words, Vertec is too hardcore for this convo. Damn nerd.
I think that maybe I have in the opposite direction of some other folks. I have maybe hit the one. I've hit the one small band in dice rolls where I haven't seen successful, and when I say successful as far as a guild goes, it just means it's existed for a while. It's thriving.
Like it's thriving.
It's doing well. There's people active on there often. It's not just,
and I've seen a lot.
You log on and you see like 5 people online at any given point. No matter when you log on, no matter what day, there's only 5 or 6 people. That's what I would call not a successful guild. That just exists to log in and have a guild bank.
The most successful guild I have seen that is casual had so many members, and it was Uwu and WoW Classic and Hardcore Classic.
Nice.
Uwu had like the biggest like numbers. I saw them everywhere. Never did anything competitive. And anytime somebody joined the guild, everyone would just go,
And
that's it.
I also agree that, you know, I've been a part of a decent amount of guilds that were very casual because that was kind of my playstyle, especially in high school. I can't really get on all the time. So I was more appealed to the casual different guilds. Granted, yes, I was also my dad's guild, but my dad's guild was also pretty casual. That being said, I think my dad is much more of a casual gamer because I find myself more hardcore than my dad is, funny enough. I don't know how to say her name. I'm sorry. Ogibi says, disagree. I've been part of a shit ton of guilds with so many people, and they're completely casual. Casual guilds also include hardcore players that are happy to carry people through the content. And I remember being one of those people. You know, I remember being one of the people that are like, you know what, I will go be a pug with this hardcore group of people looking to do like if we just cleared normal for the raid, I will do a hard version of that raid and I will learn it and I will figure it out, and then when I come back I can help walk us through that. And I found joy in that. I really enjoyed pushing myself and figuring it out so that I could help other people then get through that content.
And yeah, Lulu, by the way, that your casual guild is 200 plus, constant movement, help for each other, constant partying up for content, constant hanging out, chatting random shit. That's what I would consider successful as well. That's what I would consider thriving. Is something that's it's literally active, and there's a reason for the guild outside of when you log in, you'll have a guild bank and some perks.
We have a subjective that wants to hop in and chat with us.
Ooh.
Okay. Oh, okay. My brain, for some reason, didn't wrap around that being a person. I was like, a subjective what? What are you talking about?
Eh?
And with that, welcome in, subjective.
Welcome in.
Hey.
What are your thoughts on all this?
I'm getting feedback. Hold on a sec. I'm getting feedback.
Yeah, and also, like Galwood saying, the measure of success, I think, is up to the guild, not to us.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we don't see somebody else as successful doesn't mean that guild doesn't see themselves as successful.
Absolutely.
It's all about the goals that you put out for your own guild and the things that you want for your own guild and your members.
And that's also 100% fair. Absolutely. I mean, if you're successful at reaching whatever goals you set, I mean, that's all you can ask for, right?
Yeah.
Well, I and that's what I think, Vertec, like going back to like, I think when it comes to Ashes, there is that, it's almost like a stigma where a single player or a solo player can exist. I think they can. It's just not going to be as friendly as these other theme park games have been. But I think they can thrive if they choose to stick with it. And again, I think if they have all the tools necessary, like if they're in a guild, if there's people that are like usually around them that could help them or whatever, like I think they can actually like thrive, you know what I mean? And again, there hasn't been an MMORPG to really actually make people even try. Dude, you can go into freaking retail WoW right now, hit level like 10, and a mob will probably take 5 minutes to kill you, like with their auto attack. Like there's no real sense of threat anymore in MMORPGs. Like there's no sense of like you even trying to do anything. And I think Ashes is trying to be a little bit more difficult. And again, Elden Ring proves to people that if you actually give people challenge, they will try to step up. Yeah. Like most people, again, I thought, dang, I saw this Twitch streamer who literally only did Mario Kart, what was it, 6 or 8? Like that's all she streamed, and she was playing Elden Ring. I'm like, what the heck? You know what I mean? And she actually did some of the bosses. I was like, holy crap. So
but I think it also takes a certain mentality for that kind of challenge though too. And that's why I'm trying to say that Ashes won't be, I guess let me rephrase a little bit to get kind of closer to what I mean. It won't be a common thing. Will solo players, will casual players, will like hardcore PvE that doesn't like PvE players exist in Ashes? Absolutely, they're going to exist. Are they going to be like? Are they going to be like the
Like the majority.
Yeah, are they going to be like seagulls at the beach, or are they going to be like unicorns? They're probably going to be closer to unicorn than seagulls at the beach.
It's fair. I
If
want
you
to
know what I
give
mean.
Subjective a chance to give his input because he's newer and he was dealing with like adjusting stuff. Are you good to go, Subjective?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out. I had to mute your stream and then just
That's
listen
fine.
to the Discord.
There you
Yeah.
go.
That makes sense.
Yeah. My 2 cents on casual players is, I think if you're trying to aim for what WoW is doing, which we know Ashes is not doing, right? You're gonna lose that battle because WoW has kind of locked that market down. But I do think there is a place for casual players in Ashes. Like I said, they can craft. Maybe they can build little freeholds. Maybe they can, like I said, gather, trade on the auction house, run an economy. I do think there is a place there. It may not be the ideal play style, right? For some players, they may want to get out in the world there. But maybe we'll see Ashes evolve into a thing where, like, maybe, Vertex said he's more into PvE, right? Well, maybe Vertex wants to go to a dungeon, right? And he's like, well, I'm gonna hire these PvPers to guard the entrance so I can clear the dungeon, and we can have some cool scenarios like that kind of play out also.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to bring up, and I take this with a grain of salt because I didn't look too deeply into this, like, what do you call it? Like, science, I guess. But there's something called Bartle's player types. And I thought this was kind of interesting. You have killers that interfere with the functioning of the game world or the play experience of other players. I feel like that's more of a PvP aspect. You have achievers who accumulate status tokens by beating the rules-based challenges of the game world. I look at that as more of achievement hunters. You have explorers discover the systems governing the operation of the world, and I see that as more of your adventuring explorer type players. And then socializers form relationships with other players by telling stories within the game world, and I see that more of your role players. And I think that I think that is a good beginning state to look at, the different types. But I feel like it's, if you're familiar with D&D, you can be like neutral good, neutral evil, chaotic neutral. And I feel like you can touch on these while you might have more of a primary preference. Like I primarily am more between achievers and explorers. I like to explore the world, find achievements, and experience the world. You might have more that are explorer PV or RPers, that want to explore the world and role play as they interact with other people throughout that world. And I feel like it's a good basis, and I honestly think that might mean, well, even though I am a person that's leaning more towards achievements and exploration, I might still want to dabble in RP and I might still want to dabble in PvP, but I would be more casual of those things. That doesn't mean that I can't do those things. It means I'm just more casual. I do them less. So to me, casual is not doing it solo. It's how much or how do I put it? How hard you're leaning into it. A good example of this that comes to mind, completely not MMO related, is Animal Crossing. You can spend hours, you can be a hardcore Animal Crossing player and spend hours pushing through getting logs and harvesting and planting flowers, or you could treat it the casual game the way that they intended it to, which is do it very casually. It's real-time based, so you're not running out of a day in like 20 minutes. It's literally 8 a.m. when you wake up. It's 8 a.m. in the game. Like it follows a much wider timeline, which makes it much more casual friendly.
I think a good way to define what you're talking about is that there are power gamers and then there are just gamers, right? So like power gamers will crunch numbers, they will figure out things, and they will spend their time working to make it the most efficient way possible. And then there's gamers that will put in tons of hours but just don't care about any of that and just play the game.
Yeah.
Nerds and normies, yeah, basically.
Nerds and normies.
We're all nerds.
But I mean,
Why
that's
is it a
probably why
C?
they call them filthy casuals. Like, oh, you're not as hardcore as me, you're filthy casual.
I mean, it's true. It's true.
But I do agree. Like, I feel like when you think of casual, I don't think it should be synonymous to single player. I think it can mean single player. I don't think it should mean single player though.
Mm-hmm.
What always gets me is you'll have a person who looks up a guide, like fastest leveling guide to max level, and then they do the guide, they get to max level, and they say, man, that was such a shit leveling experience.
Yep.
Like, what the hell? Like, you just followed a guide, bro. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't even
Yeah.
really do the experience. Someone else did it for you, and you just followed this guide,
Yeah,
and then
shit
you
game.
have the gall to complain about it? Like, what are you talking about? I don't know, man. It's just 2024 is wild, dude. It's been wild.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt when WildStar was a thing. Bring back my usual game I like to talk about.
The nostalgia.
But yeah, the leveling experience there, a lot of people said they didn't like it. For one reason or another. I don't really know why, because I thought it was great. Their quests were really varied. There was a lot of different types of objectives. I mean, there was one, for crying out loud, I went to a farm and I had to go pick peaches off a tree, but I didn't pick them. I just ran into them with like a bull or something. I had to hop on a bull and ram the tree to get the peaches to come down. It was something silly like that because it's WildStar's fashion. Either way, I had to like bump the tree with something to get the peaches to fall down to carry them to the farmer.
Right.
It was just interesting in different things. Like every quest known to man is a fetch or kill quest, really. When you really think about it, it's just how interesting can you make those menial tasks? Go collect this, go pick this, go grab this, go ask somebody for this and bring it back, or go kill these things and then retrieve something from them.
Even if you think about like puzzles and like riddles and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, you're fetching something to, complete the riddle or something like that.
You
So
just
like,
get,
even when you
you
get
get-
into like those,
Yeah, you got a puzzle in the middle or something. Yeah.
exactly.
See, this guy gets it. This guy gets it.
Can I just chime in on that? I honestly think I think you're making a good point about like leveling up and stuff, but I think the best content from Ashes is going to be how players like, fight, right? Nodes, you could kill one player, gank one player from another node, and it starts a big war and drama and stuff. Like, I think a lot of Ashes, since it's a sandbox MMO, is going to be driven a lot by how the players interact with each other, like starting wars or over silly things. I mean, the list could go on. Maybe they want to fight over a dungeon for the boss or something. It's just a lot of cool, more interesting things in a sandbox MMO.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Fupo. I think the hardcore people are definitely
read
the
that?
people that are following. It says, I think the most following at this point are a little more on the power gamer side of things, even those that might consider themselves as casual. And with that, it is hard to judge what an actual filthy casual will really enjoy in the game. And I'm thinking most will be quite happy.
Sorry. I think I was supposed to say gameplay loops and Ashes.
Yeah. I'm thinking most will be quite happy with what is available for the filthy casual level and probably play IMO. And yeah, I agree that anybody that is a casual gamer probably isn't following the game that doesn't exist yet. So that probably makes a lot of sense. That tracks.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, that goes back to the age-old saying of, gamers will over efficient themselves out of fun. They'll optimize themselves straight out of having fun. Like, to Vladis's point, looking up a guide on how to level, like you're optimizing the leveling experience, but you're taking the fun out of it. That being said, my next question is, what drove you to look it up? Because if it was like Burtek and I playing Final Fantasy 14, we just wanted to get to the content everybody else was doing, and that was well before they smushed everything down and got rid of the filler quests between the expansions.
It was also when we had to make a new class because we already had 3 classes at max level, and they wanted us to play a different class, so we had to start all over. And we're like, F this, find the fastest way, let's get through this crap. It's already going to take us 12 days to do it, so let's just optimize this stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I think that's the first game mentality. Like when I was playing Last Epoch, I don't traditionally play ARPGs like Path of Exile, Diablo style games. And so when I was playing, I did it all, no guide, no looking up or whatever.
Yeah.
Played all the way till I got to like, oh my God, it was like level 86 and did everything on my own and was able to do stuff. And it was just it was such a great experience to do it in that way because I had no idea like if I was even doing anything efficiently, which I kind of wasn't. It was a really bad build that I did, but hey, it worked. It got me to level 86. I was doing like hard content, but I had fun, you know what I mean? And again, it's like when other people aren't making decisions for me, I am then making the decisions that I think are best for myself. And I enjoy that. Like, again, it's like, imagine if there was just someone next to you critiquing every decision you make when you're playing a game. Is that really fun?
Well,
and I think that's what guides do. Just there's not a physical person there doing it, you know, like.
Yeah, but you see, then you have to start finding out.
Playstyle.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But then with all that, you got to start trying to find out and ask yourself what you feel is the line between asking for help, getting a good like kind of a nudge in the right direction, and where it bleeds into the area of, well, now you're just trying to optimize your fun out, and now you're just trying to get someone else to tell you how to play the game, and like where is that line? Because you could go to talent builders and any kind of suggestions on, like your character, you should totally go for crit, right? Because that's what the class is kind of built for, is critting,
right?
But but that's a huge giveaway if somebody didn't notice it, you know. That's almost something you'd feel bad if somebody didn't tell them at some point. Like, you should really go for crit. Like, if you don't go for some crit, you're legitimately missing out on all of your damage potential. You're gonna do nothing, and you just know that's gonna impact their play experience, right?
Potentially. The great thing about like Ashes though is like you can choose your playstyle and be wrong.
Yeah.
If you're having fun, you're gonna be wrong, but if you're having fun, who cares? You might get gatekept out of certain content,
and that's what I mean by it's going to impact their game. That's what I mean by it's going to impact their game experience. If they make such a tragic mistake that it's going to really like break their, not like you're not within the top 10 percentile, but like you are below a half, but you have the best gear. How is this happening?
Right.
Someone should have told you that by now. Type of mistake.
So it's one of those things where gamers tend to look for the out before they even got in, right? So when you're like, if you're going to go play a game like Once Human, like how many in chat before he even loaded Once Human already watched a YouTube video about it, already watched, or saw a Max Stroll guide about, like a lot of gamers are already predisposed to already looking up how to do the thing they're going to download and play before they even get a chance to play. Like, I know a lot of people like that, and they can say in chat like, oh, I don't do that. I play all by myself. That's great. Like, I'm usually that kind of player too. Like, I want to see it for myself first. And then if there's something that I am totally lost on, and again, in a game like an ARPG, if I mess up my build, there's no one else that's going to compete with me in a sense. Like, it's a single player game, like in a sense, right? So it's like, I don't really care. If I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm good. MMOs are different in that regard. Like, Vertec, you are right in the sense of if a build or a class is built for a certain thing and you aren't doing that thing, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. And that's the whole thing about being in a community, right? I can tell you, hey, your class is kind of built around crit. you are built around haste or around magic or around something else that is not crit. And I think if you were to switch yourself to doing that, like, and only that, you don't have to do anything else, but if you just kind of switch your gear to being more crit oriented, you're going to do a lot better. And I think a lot of people won't be like, oh, cool, thank you, man. I did not know that. I was completely blasé to that. But there's other times where, again, in other games, it's like, oh, you don't use that ability. This ability is shit. This ability is terrible. This is dog water. And realistically, those abilities are just fine. They just don't do the 0.5% extra damage this other ability does. So to you, it's dog water, but it's still a good ability. It's not trash. Okay. And I think that's the thing where I come from World of Warcraft, because again, I look at the talents, I look at all the numerical values of everything. And when I see a video saying, don't ever use this ability, it's complete dog water. And it's like, bro, it's not. It's a passive. If you have arthritis in your hands and you can't push that extra button, then just stick with the passive. Like, it's not going to be that detrimental overall to your damage. You're still going to do really well. You're just not going to do as well by hitting this other active ability. But no one really talks like that. Everything just talks about it in the sense of 100 or 0. There's nothing ever in the middle anymore. It's either the best or it's the absolute worst.
To your point, I'm one of those dirty lookup guides on every single class that I play because I like to play efficiently. But like, I'll read those guides, read the rotations, be like, okay, so it works like this. I figure out the little mechanics in between each ability, like, oh, okay, so if I do this ability first, it amplifies that ability, so it'd be good if I get those in tandem. And I start learning that, and then I look at the abilities that I have fun playing with, and then I change my build based on my play style. I don't necessarily do it for the max efficiency build all the time, but I do it as like a general, like, here you go, here's what is a good starting spot for me as a player, and then grow from there.
Yeah, and Planet Door says if the game only gets good at a later stage in the game, that's when I usually go to the guides because I want to get to that point ASAP. And I kind of find myself not looking at guides until I'm pushing content. Like, for example, when Vertec and I were playing with our guild, we were doing the classic, I don't even know which version, Vertec. Was it Lich King? Or that was about to come out at the time, but I was playing shaman, healer, so as a rester shaman, and I would, build what made sense to me with the talent tree and with the skills and how things interplayed. But whenever they mentioned, hey, we need to survive a little longer, we need a little bit more healing here, we need a little bit more DPS there, that's when I take to the guides and I'm like, okay, what am I doing differently from what the guides are suggesting is like the best way to do it? And I may not follow it 1-to-1, but it'll put me in the right direction on how to alter myself and then test that out for a week and see if that gave me the right output that I'm looking for. Otherwise, I'll look up a different guide and see how they did it differently and go that other direction. I'm not very good at like figuring out like the fine-tune things with like the talent trees and everything like that. So having somebody else being able to explain why that's a better combination of things is very helpful for me.
There was a Mistweaver monk in my old WoW guild before I quit raiding. Not because I raided with Axiom, my current guild, but my old WoW guild. And she would always play the ability she knew. So anytime a new guide came out, when a new patch came out, usually sometimes abilities get nerfed or buffed or whatever, she never switched. She's like, I'm sticking with this stuff. It's what I know. It's what I'm comfortable doing. It's what I have fun doing. And she never suffered. Like, she never got benched. She never got, like, oh, your healing is horrible. No, because she knew what she was doing. She's been playing a Mistweaver monk since Mists. So it's, again, I feel like people put so much emphasis into guides.
Was it when they removed the fist weaving? Was it when they removed that?
No, I think fist weaving was something that that she actually didn't do. She was more of like the effervescence and the that one essence font ability that she would use.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
But she was always really good. And I know the meta became to do the fist weaving. Like that's what everybody was doing with the whole
Then they
legendaries and
got
stuff
rid
like
of
that.
it. I had so much fun with that.
Oh, well, they brought it back for or not Dragonflight, but for
War Within,
no, the
Shadowlands.
one before Shadowlands. They brought the
Okay.
fist weaving back. But either way, is this, I think people put too much precedent in guides and not enough in their own ability to think for themselves.
Mhm.
And just to logically test, look at this ability, see what it does compared to the other options. And if it's not, because I feel like, look at the fighter. Like you're going to have different options on the fighter as far as like cataclysm, as far as maim, as far as overpower, or, you know, whatever ability, right? And you're going to see certain guides that say, don't ever take cataclysm. It's complete dog water. When in fact, it's not. And, and again, there's going to be other things, just say real quick, with PvP and PvE being so blended together, cataclysm could be completely terrible in PvP, but really good in PvE. So because it has that blend, like you can't just say it's complete crap, because you don't know when you're going to come across that scenario where you're going to be mixtured of both, you know, and that's a game like a PvX kind of game like Ashes of Creation is going to be, right? So go ahead, Lloyd.
Yeah, I have a counterpoint to like why somebody might look at a guide is because MMOs have so much effing information. It is crazy the amount of stuff that you have to digest and go into and learn everything about. Oh, here's a system on this thing. Here's another system on this I have to learn, and another system on this. And how does my class interact with that? And what about all these other class synergies? What about all their other abilities? Like there is so much information in MMO, especially with all this like item bloat. And it's like, do I even need this? Do I sell it to a merchant? Do I sell it on the auction house? Like there is so much information bloat in MMOs that guides just help facilitate a player to be like, you don't need this or you need this, like type of thing too.
Well, again, guides are meant to be tools. And that's what a guide is. Like I'm a CC, right? I'm a content creator. I want people to watch my videos. I want to be able to make videos like on these featured classes. Yeah. So, but my point is that I think people have gone too reliant for not trying to think for themselves for 2 seconds, right? Like, again, it's just a matter of looking at it very realistically and practically. Like, don't just assume like certain abilities are complete trash and these ones are completely goated. Because again, I've seen so many people in WoW, people were trying to do the Havoc Demon Hunter with momentum. And it's because it was the best play style or plus talent build to do, but most people can't even pull it off. It's like, yes, you're playing the best build, but your DPS is like completely suffering because you just don't know how it works and you keep messing up and you also keep dying. So it's like, what's the point of you trying to mimic this best build when you can't even properly execute it?
The
and that's what I mean.
No DPS.
It's just, that's why I said like, use it as a tool. You know, I'm not trying to disparage people from like looking at guides, but don't make that the end all be all of your entire time frame playing the MMO. Like think for yourself a little bit.
Absolutely.
One
Can I
thing
bring in a hot take? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say I think a lot of this boils down, at least since we're talking about World of Warcraft, right? A lot of this boils down to the community in general. WoW is just fostered a community where like if you join a pug to do Mythic Plus, right? If you're not pulling your weight, people get mad, right? So it's like you have DPS meters, like everyone has them, and it's like, oh no, you're doing 100k less than you're supposed to be, and then they yell at you, right? And that's where this like min max. I'm not against min maxing, right? If people like doing that, that's fine. But then that's where kind of guides come in, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm not playing my class properly, so I'm just gonna download 9,000 add-ons to. I mean, in WoW, you could practically have it like tell you what your rotation is. So.
Well, Fubu's, or go ahead. Chiba.
The other thing I wanted to add to that was there's also bringing it around back to what we were initially talking about earlier. There's also the casual gamers. Maybe they don't want to spend that time min-maxing their build. And maybe they're trying to be a part of a dungeon and they're realizing they're not doing that great of DPS. So what do? They go to look up a guide And maybe that's how they realize, hey, I've been building my character all wrong. I didn't even notice that my character was crit based. I've been building HP and defense on my character. And I think that it, like, to assume everybody's going to be the type of player that I am, that we are in that aspect, is not exactly true. Maybe they just want to play that class because it looked cool when they saw somebody else play it, and that race looked cool too, but they're not like deep diving in the class the way a lot of us are. And I'm just thinking of my dad when I'm talking about this.
Speaking of deep diving, I find it funny how much of this conversation is spun off of Vladis saying, I think people that look up guides and follow them and then complain about a terrible leveling experience, I think they're dumb.
Isn't
it all spun off of that, and it cracks me up. That one simple statement.
Well, it's also true.
Yeah, fair.
I was gonna say also, isn't it kind of a failure of the game if you're playing a class and it really doesn't kind of like point you a little bit in the right direction? I mean, it doesn't have to fully like hold your hand, right? But like, say you're playing a class that needs crit, right? Shouldn't it be like, okay, maybe you should focus a little on crit. Maybe you could do other builds, right? But you know, your class is more focused on crit. Other builds will work, they just won't be as good.
I think it depends on the game and the context. Yeah. And like you were saying before, we're talking about WoW a lot, but I think it's because it's mostly relatable to a lot of people. But most of the things that we're talking about can apply to a lot of games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I play League, I have to look up a guide because I don't know what I'm doing.
But I think that's okay.
But see, why is it okay for League, but it's not okay for an MMO? You know, I think guides can be a crutch for somebody until they learn how to play. Because, like, again, going back to what Lloyd said, you know, there's a lot to an MMO. And if we take it for granted that we are here from the beginning for Ashes, think of your experience. Like, imagine never playing World of Warcraft a day in your life and then jumping in to World of Warcraft when everybody else is already max level and you're trying to get max level because your friends are max level. So maybe you're not going through the casual leveling process that a lot of us go through initially, because you're trying to catch up to them, right? And so you're not spending all of that time learning your skill sets to the ability that a lot of us have taken the time to learn our skill sets. And I can see it as a crutch to use until you get better at the game, because that allows you to take focus off of this one area so you can learn the game in these other areas. And then you can circle back and be like, all right, how do I change this to match what I want to do? And that could be like, that's when you can get rid of that and you don't need them all. Because again, typically in an MMORPG, we have a lot of different skills besides however many there are in League.
So
165 plus 5 or times 5 abilities each, and all the items and the permutations of the items that you can build on each character. Yeah,
we've got Mr. Maths in here.
He came prepared.
I played the game for 10 years, so I better fucking know this information.
This guy done did his homework. But so I think we're just about to the end of our stream time here for this Tuesday, this Tavern Talk. But I did want to bring up a speed round, because it was talked about earlier. There's actually been some conversation around it, yet we haven't gotten around to talking about it in voice here. So
okay, what's
everybody's thought on, for one, mentor systems in games, and for two, Lulu brought up mentor systems specifically in guilds to get people through certain content and get them participating in the guild. Lulu, correct me if I'm wrong, and you had a different angle on that, but that's what it sounded like to me. Specifically on a guild scale, instead of like you meet a random person in town and you're like, hello, random person, you have a cute hat, I will now mentor you. Well, what are your thoughts on those, and how do you think a mentor system should function in say like 6 sentences or less?
Yes, first.
Go, Lloyd.
Fine. Okay.
You got 35 to 42 seconds.
All right. So I will say that mentor system is a good thing no matter what you do. I think it's already gonna be in Ashes as a general version of it, and the way that they have it, as long as higher level people can interact with the system and get a reward for it, such as like scaling down and being at that lower level and getting like good rewards for them up in their level bracket, I think is good. As far as guild system goes, I think the general system will already be good enough, and your guild is already incentivized to do that. So I'm not sure what the guild system would actually do to add to benefit that system.
I mean, why do you need a mentor system? Just look up a guide. I'm just really joking.
You're right. I
This
retract that.
guy.
Hold on. 1 second. 1 second.
Oh, he got banned on the spot.
I tease.
Get wrecked.
You've been
Oh
ejected.
my God.
You've been ejected.
That was hilarious.
Doo-doo.
All right. Your real take.
Mentor systems are kind of interesting. I really don't think Ashes needs a mentor system personally, but because that's what I think the guilds are for, right? When you join a guild, like there's usually like your guild leader, officers are there to help you. I don't know if there needs to be another layer of added help for people. And I think that's why if you go into a game and you have no idea what you're doing or whatever, like most people, when you're spamming into a town, like you'll find helpful people. Dude, when I was playing classic WoW, like not even at the launch, but just like way later, there's people like in Stormwind and Orgrimmar just helping people all the time. Like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, like, or where should I go, or like I'm new to this game or whatever. Like you just saying that in a game, like, you know, like in classic WoW, people are more than happy to help you. Not so much in retail, but in classic is like you have those people that are there. And I think a game like Ashes, the same thing is probably going to happen there too. So I don't really think you need a mentor system, because then you have to start giving rewards to the mentors. There has to be this whole leveling process, and there's this whole dev time you have to dedicate to the system that I don't even think is truly needed. So that's my take.
Okay. Subjective.
I like the idea of mentor systems, and I don't necessarily think you have to be rewarded for it. I understand why you would want to be rewarded for it, but I think if you're really passionate about Ashes of Creation, right, and you want new players to play the game, you'll just step up and help them, right? That's just how I feel. Maybe I'm the weirdo of the pack, but like
You're not. Reading the chat, I think we're aligned in that.
okay,
You're
well,
the weirdo of the pack.
oh, okay. Well, I just feel like if I'm playing Ashes, right, I'll just give a quick example. If I'm playing Ashes and someone, like I said, a lot of people, like an example in WoW is people like ask a question in the game instead of like going to Google, and a lot of people just yell at them and say, go to Wowhead or Google it or whatever, right? And instead of just answering them. And I mean, fair, but like if you really want to foster a community, you'll answer their question, right? You'll help them out. I mean, obviously you're not going to help them 24/7, but you know, if we all band together for this game we love and just help new players, it should work out, I think.
Yeah, and for me, I don't see it necessarily tied. I can't. That's why I was asking for clarification on like how exactly Ludaloo can see that working within the guild. And I think maybe he may have been thinking about L2, because I saw somewhere in chat from Mr. Draft's Lineage 2 guild mentor system was directly tied to the guild leveling progress. So by mentoring people, you helped level your guild. And that, I think Ludaloo has some background with L2 as well. And for me, I haven't experienced that with a guild. I've experienced the guild doing things together. So whether or not you're mentoring, doing things together as a guild leveled the guild. It didn't really come down to like a mentorship program specifically, but rather doing things together as a guild was more of the goal. And that's just my take. I think the mentorship program in general is a great idea. I think Vertec and I had conversations previously about other ways that the mentorship could really help kind of incentivize somebody, but Vertec, I'll leave it to you.
So I have a couple opinions about this. For one, I think a mentorship program in a game should be one that lets the mentor scale level with the mentoree? How do you the source of the one who is receiving mentorship?
Mentor and mentee.
Mentee. Okay, I had it right the first time.
Yes.
So the manatee,
Manatee.
I'm using that from now on. So, and the reason I say that, especially in a game like Ashes, where it's going to take 973,000 years to reach max level, or whatever the newest calculation is, a really long time, right? No one's going to want to say, hey, Pete, yeah, you've been my buddy for a while. There's this game you got to try. Come on, hop on in. Yeah, absolutely. I'll start a new character with you and level that entire way from 1 to max level just for this one single friend I'm bringing into the game. And I absolutely plan to do this with all my friends at various times in my life. No, they're
That's how
really not going to want
alcoholics
to.
are born.
Yeah. So a mentorship system that lets you scale down, even if it requires crafting gear that forces you down to that level, like require multiple crafters to craft a set of training gear, and that's what lets you scale levels. That's fine. But I think that should exist, and I think that should contribute maybe some points to your guild, because you are mentoring somebody. Every time, instead of getting you character experience, it gets points for your guild or whatever social organization you're trying to achieve respect or some kind of reputation in. Like if you're part of the the religious nodes, whatever social organization, maybe get experience for that instead. It goes towards something you're trying to represent as you being a mentor. But within a guild, I think it's better to just have in-guild reward system, like something. It was almost like DKP. It was a EPGP, effort point, gear point, and it could be applied to anything really. But any kind of effort you put into the guild could be calculated down to a point value. It would contribute to your score. It would decay weekly, so you had to continually be active to keep that score up, and then you'd spend those points on some kind of reward for the guild. Be it gear, or be it just materials, or be it just a cash out of some gold, something. You'd spend those points to get some kind of a reward from the guild. I think that's the best kind of like mentor type program for a guild. You're helping out, you're doing things.
Bladis, it looks like you had a question or a statement.
I was just thinking, because I thought a mentor system was just information based, and the way Vertex was talking, like you're actually playing with this individual.
Yeah, you are
that's
leveling with
the goal.
the player.
I linked this earlier in chat, but there's a mentor program for Ashes where you're leading a mentee through a dungeon, meeting at pre-arranged locations, escort quests for NPC caravans, things like that. I can toss it out here again for those of you watching later on YouTube. The link will be in the description. But somebody said EQ2 had scalable mentorship as well. And of course, I really appreciate what Fupo asked, like, what amount of corruption would a downscaled level player give? Like, would you give a lower amount of corruption or a higher amount of corruption? Will it be based off of your base level in terms of corruption? Will it be based off of this new adjusted level? And I feel like this is a whole other can of worms we could jump into.
It's a small. It's only got like 3 worms in that can.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. You just, whatever the level of character you're downscaled to is just, you have the same amount of skill points, you have the same amount of like HP and level, you get the same amount of corruption. It's
you can defend yourself that well. You just have more experience in the game. It's like starting a new alt, but you're at a lower level.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, how am I still, after all these years, learning about systems I had no idea?
I'm telling you, this is why we need guides.
Because there are
Exactly,
so many
Chibi's
things
right.
about Ashes, and that's why I say, like, yeah, I've got some gripes about the game. I've got some concerns, but at the same time, there's so much more to the game than those few things I have complaints about.
Yeah.
I learned earlier in my stream today about backgrounds.
Yeah.
Because, and Lloyd was there, and I was like,
I was
wait,
there.
what? I was like, what do you mean backgrounds? Because I thought racial augments were tied to
Oh yeah, we talked about that on
races.
Friday.
Yeah, and then it's like, no, they're tied to your background. So I was like, well, what's a background? So I just typed in background.
Steven did change that. Yeah, he went from racials to backgrounds, I think.
Which is a good change in my opinion.
Yeah, and I was like, holy crap, this is really good. I was like, I like this. I was like, I didn't even know this thing existed in Ashes of Creation. Jesus, I'm like the worst Ashes of Creation.
This
content
is why
creator.
we need
I
guys.
don't even know this game, guys. I have no idea what this game is.
You-
I
you
just,
know-
Been following it for 5 years.
It's Dungeons
No,
and
just-
Dragons.
so
It's a D&D
whatever.
expansion, really. That's all it is.
I just want to say this is a reason why we have content creators like Lloyd and Vladis and Subjective in making
Oh,
content because they
God.
cover things that I forgot about, or maybe they find things that I didn't even know existed. Like backgrounds. So this is why we support the community. This is why I love watching other smaller streamers as watching them grow as well. I love watching their content because there's only so much that Vertec and I can cover.
That's wild.
Not only in a 1
not
to
a
2
robot.
hour period, but also in our we've been following this game since 2017. But yes, I also recently learned about the backgrounds. Doing research for Friday.
Golly.
So
Wild.
Is it like RP, like your background? Is that what you mean, or is
No.
it just they just renamed Rachel's background?
No. So
You get to choose. All right, go ahead, Vladis. You read.
I can put this out in the chat.
So backgrounds here, let me, because I feel like I'm going to do a bad job, so I'm just going to look it up again. So backgrounds, you have your racials, right? So you have like the 4 major races, which is like the Alens, you have the Duniers, you have the Renkai, and then you have the Pyre, right? But then you have like the 2 variants between the 2. So each race was supposed to have their own racial like ability, but instead of having it tied to the race itself, there's a thing called backgrounds. So backgrounds in Ashes of Creation house character benefits that are traditionally tied to the race in other games. So this is what Steven said about it. Backgrounds are similar to racials in other games. Instead of the race you choose giving certain benefits, players will select a background. We want players to have the freedom to choose the race they want to play because they are excited about it, and avoid situations where players are forced to feel or forced to play a specific race based off of their gameplay benefits. Like, again, classic WoW, if you're playing a priest and you're not playing a dwarf, you're trolling because dwarfs have the fear
Oh,
word.
so this is almost like an evolution of that system, kind of, I guess.
Basically,
Yeah,
so
it's,
think
it's your starter stats that you were inherently given as a character, but now the meta isn't what race are you. You have to pick this because of this benefit. You get
It's
to
basically
choose the
Tasha's
benefit.
Cauldron for D&D.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you were a
you gotta
lumberjack, you
choose your
probably have a
background.
little bit more strength, that kind of thing.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Because I was hoping I could
But,
write my background and it say, I played Ashes for 900,000 years and I'm level cap. Just for
There you
fun.
go. Nice.
I made it.
Alrighty.
You killed the Dark Lord in your past life.
I
and now
did.
You're here.
There you go.
I did. I took a. I was in a portal when I did the the thing a couple Fridays ago. I
You are
came through that
truly
portal.
the chosen one. There are no others.
Level 1, by
Everyone
the
else
way.
is just a normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So we did the quick speed round, and then we did a little casual round right after. So let's go back to before I said let's do a speed round, and we'll just wrap up.
Yes.
And so everybody, if you'd like to plug something, please feel free to do so. Lloyd, did you want to plug your channel, plug something you got coming up? Just say hi to the folks and wave your hands even though they can't see them.
Yeah, so I'll wave my hands right now. I will be doing probably a live stream after the dev update to talk about Bard and stuff, and then the first Sunday of August, August 4th, I will be doing Ashes of the Grey with the Grey Sentinels podcast, where we talk about all this stuff and more, and it'll be a lot of fun. Come join us there at the Grey Sentinels, twitch.tv/Grey Sentinels.
Ooh-ha. Vladis, what do you got?
I don't know when I'm going to stream next, but if I don't stream randomly, then of course you can always catch me on Vladis Gaming on Twitch and YouTube Friday night at 7 p.m. Central. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate y'all doing these tavern talks. I really like them. They're awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
really
awesome.
appreciate you swinging by and hanging out. Both of
Yeah.
you. Both of you have been by a couple times now.
Yeah.
Love having you here. And
Almost like you're
subjective.
becoming regulars.
Yeah,
I
right?
know.
Yeah, nice to meet both of you. I've met Vertec and Chibri before. I'm subjective. I do a podcast called All Talk All Game, but it's mostly focused on Ashes of Creation on YouTube and other things. We have a PvP kind of tips podcast coming out tomorrow for people who are a little more hesitant in PvP, to give some tips, because we have a lot of experience. And I would like to thank you for letting me on this Tavern Talk.
Of course. And as I was just
Nice meeting you.
responding to Plan Indoor, oh yeah, of course. It was very nice meeting you as well as Subjective. I'm glad you joined us finally for a Tuesday.
Yeah, thanks. I
but-
feel better, so I'm gonna try and stick around more.
Let's go.
Plan Indoor says awesome lineup. Thank you guys. And I was saying we mainly have this open. Like we don't pick people. I'm not asking Vladis or Lloyd every week, hey, can you join us? We're saying, hey, the tavern's open. Who wants to come chat?
I'm
And,
actually
we
on the
keep
Tavern door begging to join, so they just
The
are nice
opposite.
enough to let me on.
Yeah,
Just
let me
give
in.
it free beer and they'll be here.
Yeah. But
Yes.
also, I just want to mention we have our a new guest coming up this Saturday. Moved it over to Saturday with Rika, and then next Friday we will have Vladis on our stream for our podcast. So those are the upcoming guests for the next couple of weeks. So very excited.
Gonna have this guy
Yeah,
on
yeah.
multiple streams almost in a row. My gosh.
I
My gosh.
know.
It's like too much. I'll have to just be MIA until my stream.
Oh no. Oh no.
Another
Nice.
bonus episode win.
All right. Well,
Another bonus episode.
Soon.
if anybody has
Soon.
any requests, feel free to hit that guide the raid.
Guide the
If
raid.
not, we'll get it figured out here. Chibi, did you have any closing words you'd like to give to the people?
Those were my closing words.
Okay, fair enough.
Hold on, I
Well,
gotcha.
as always, thank you everybody for hanging out, especially on these Tuesdays where it's super just cash. We're just cash hanging out,
Sure.
just a handful of peoples. Hey, Droog it is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. Much appreciated. I wish we could give out bonus points for this stuff. You keep spending it when everyone else is just
I
like,
have
I don't
20K,
care.
it's fine.
I don't
All right,
care.
looks like I got it going.
All right. Well, thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for visiting us and having conversation with us. That is, as always, the absolute best support you can possibly give us. So we appreciate every moment of it. Everyone, have yourselves a fantastic evening, and we'll catch you around next time.
Yeah, see you next time.
Bye.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.